All right, Trial Mob, welcome back to another TBG feature. I am your host, Nello, and in front of us we have the venerable, the general, the best guy from the Bucks team, Bob himself. Now, this is specifically, as it says on the box, the commander of the Bucks team. This is one of the most legendary figures that you can basically buy from the Acid Rain series. If you've played Call of Duty, this is basically Acid Rain's Captain Price. This guy has been in a lot of the lore. We've seen a lot of things happen from him. He's obviously an older man, as you can tell from the figure itself, and I've heard from the people that know more about the lore than I do that this is basically towards the very end of his running cycle, let's say, in the Bucks team, right? He's going to move more towards a, we could say, senatorial role moving forward, and other people are going to take his place. So it's really nice to kind of see what the Bucks team looks like. If you guys remember, there are an original team. They look different. This is an updated look. This is them in the future, right? This is them a few years down the line. So it's really nice to see again that we're seeing a nice progression of what the story is turning into. Again, Acid Rain isn't just a standalone figure, right? The standalone set of figures. There's a lore behind this. There's a lot of things that Acid Rain and, Toys Alliance is doing to basically bring us something that's more cohesive, something that makes you care about these figures a bit more. You can go onto their website and read a lot of the chapters that they have. A lot of it touches base on this specific character and a guy named Damien, which I am highly hoping that we will at some point get him as a Bucks team member. And I don't know his fate because I haven't read everything. But with that said, let's go ahead and get into this Bob character and let's break down the figure and let's see if this is something that you should have your eyes on and that you should pick up. So when it comes to the box art, I hope this looks a little bit more clear for you guys. I love this box art. So it has him and Jack in the background. They look great together, and I really like the fact that in this case we see Bob's face unmasked. I think that's a nice touch. Of course, he looks good with the helmet on, but I like being able to see that it's Bob's face on here. This is something that's going to be brand new to a lot of these figures, as this is the very first time we're seeing a face on basically the other four members. In this case, we've already seen Bob before, but again, this is more of an evolution of what we've seen, considering that this is supposed to take a little bit later in his career, in his military career. Now, as you can tell, that rifle looks great. It's in the middle of shooting, so we get some of that fire right there on the side. I really like what we have going on here. He looks incredibly tactical, very much so advanced. Again, this is why I said he's kind of like a Captain Price, kind of this advanced warfare look. I really appreciate basically everything that we're seeing here. I think that they definitely nailed it, knocked it out of the park. But let's go ahead and look at the back real quick. So flipping over to the back, as you can tell, he comes with a really great assortment of stuff. I'm going to go over some of that because unlike, let's say, the G.I. Joe Classified series, which allows you to put everything onto the body of the figure, usually at least, Acid Rain doesn't always do that, and this is one of those cases where they didn't. A few gripes about that, but we'll get into that. But as you can tell, he basically comes with a whole assortment of things. So a rifle, a pistol, a knife. We see an extra stock right there on the right. 5 different, I want to say grenades. I think 2 of them are smoke grenades. The other 3 are legit grenades. And of course his helmet. And then that rifle, if you guys remember me mentioning it when I went over the news segment, is a very modular rifle. That's why we get on the side that extra stock, because you can do quite a number of things with this gun. And I really like that. But again, we'll get into that a little bit later. But in the meantime, I do want to say that I do like the box art for this. I like what they've done here. They've definitely made it look modern. They've made it look aesthetically pleasing. There's a lot going on here. He's not in a static position. He's literally in fight mode, and I like that a lot. Here we have Bob himself just looking like an incredible warrior. Again, I like what they've done here with the accessories. I like what they've done here with the overall look of this character. These are basically brand new color palettes that we haven't seen from the Argard's military. So again, this just kind of emphasizes the fact that they're kind of this like new operative figureheads from the Bucks team, basically, right? The Bucks team has seen some advancements since when we first saw them, right? It's been a couple years now. They have a lot going for them. Now, believe you me, this reminds me of the Commando Force 99 from Star Wars. That basically the stormtrooper unit that's got all the really cool looking basic stormtroopers, but just slightly different, right? You guys know Commander Krell, Sergeant Krell. You guys know what I'm talking about. But anyways, I get a lot of that vibe from here too as well. I feel like that's something that is a given at this point. But anyways, so let's go ahead and take a closer look at the design. I know that when these were first announced, I remember that a lot of people were like, hey, we like the way it looks, sure, but but it's not Acid Rain. It looks too futuristic. It looks too clean. It looks too something else. It doesn't necessarily look like the, you know, almost steampunk-like era or diesel punk-like era of what Acid Rain was at the beginning. And I'll have to agree that when I first saw it, I definitely thought, wow, this is definitely a bit of a departure from what I remember seeing from Acid Rain. But I'll tell you what, having it in person, you have to remember that Acid Rain, they like to give that Acid Rain wash to all their figures. And as clean as this might have looked in the photos, and I have to admit, it would look incredibly clean, it looks a lot more normal here. This looks a lot better. Let me go ahead and brighten this up a little bit. So as you can tell, this is a really nice looking figure. I love the look of it. I love the colors. I love that granulated wash that they put through it so that it looks like, you know, it's been through Acid Rain. I love that. This makes it feel a lot more like an original Acid Rain character, and I'm really appreciative of that. So as you can tell, we have the orange hoodie that is basically breaking up a lot of that black color, the silver in the head. For some reason, and I don't understand this, I've never understood this about Acid Rain, but a lot of their figures have kind of like a solid faceplate over their eyes, so I'm not quite sure how they're supposed to see through it. And then of course in this case we have two different eyes for Bob, so like I don't understand, like did he get shot in one eye? Is he you know, is that supposed to be like a scouter? I don't know enough about the lore, so that's something that kind of irks me a little bit, but overall, I do like the way this looks, the shoulder pads, the arms, as you can tell, the Bucks team logo on the forearm. And, you know, he doesn't come with a backpack to put onto his back, so, I mean, I don't know why that hole is there, but I imagine in the future we might get some Bucks team specific upgrades, like weapons packs, where maybe it'll come with a backpack or an exosuit, and we'll see this come into play later. But again, I really like the overall look of this guy. Of course, the lower half of his body does also a good job of breaking up a lot of that, you know, blackness. So we see the orange colors, some of the lighter bone colors towards the calves, you know, the granulated look altogether, that wrist communicator thing he's got on his forearm. I mean, this is a great looking figure, a lot of different colors. Again, I do appreciate the fact that this looks like a very unique new faction. If you would have given me this character, not named him Bob, and told me it was just a brand new faction, nice. If you would have just told me that this is a brand new faction, I probably would have been like, yeah, you're 100% right. But it's cool to see that this is Argard. So again, I'm hoping that we'll see more characters in this general look. Of course, I wanted to show you guys real quick what the unhelmeted face looked like. So we're going to go ahead and zoom in on that and see if I can brighten it up for you guys. So I'm not going to lie, it doesn't look half bad for me. But I feel like, I don't know, some of it could have been a little bit more clear. I know he's an older guy, but some of this came off a little bit weird with his eyes. Yeah, I wouldn't say the best eyes I've seen, but I would say that overall a fairly good looking figure. And as you can tell, the headpiece kind of cradles his whole head, so that's something that isn't too different from the other figures. But again, I wanted to give you guys a little close up. Though he definitely looks like a grizzled man, I'll tell you that right now. Right, so when it comes to accessories, Bob comes with an array of stuff. So let me go ahead and get into it. Let me show you guys a little bit of it all. Let me make some commentary as well as to whether or not this is overall a good set or not in terms of kind of the way the accessories work with the body. So here it goes. So obviously we have the helmet itself, which you've already seen. So overall, it looks pretty nice. I like the way it looks. I like the color combinations. It's a really good. Hold on, let me go ahead and. There you go. So as you can tell, a lot of detail in here. I like the way it looks. I like the aesthetic of it overall. I like all the little details that you see on the head right there, and basically the Bob insignia. Again, I'm not 100% sure I understand the aesthetic piece of this portion right here, right? But again, still a cool look overall. Then when we get into some other stuff, so here we have this knife. Now, I think we have seen this knife before. I could be wrong, could be a new one. But there's no sheath on him anywhere to place this. That really irks me, because a lot of the other Acid Rain figures that we have that come with knives usually have some place to sheath it. He doesn't. There's, as far as I can tell, nowhere on his body. So this is something that has to be stored to the side. But it does look really nice. And then the pistol, let's go over the pistol real quick. The pistol looks really nice. This basically looks kind of like, correct me if I'm wrong, but this looks like a Desert Eagle, and it's a big boy too. From my understanding, this isn't the same one that Kelsey came with. So it's slightly different. But my big irksome problem is that, so this piece right here goes as like a sight right at the bottom, right? And it slips right in, looks perfectly fine. I love the thickness of it, right? But the problem is this doesn't fit into the holster. You actually have to remove this in order for the pistol to fit into the holster. And I'm not gonna lie, that kind of, again, irks me. Why do I have to take it off to fit it in? But I guess not all figures that are gonna come with the holster that we see are also gonna come with a pistol that comes with this specific, you know, what is this, like a red dot sight? So maybe I understand that part, but still kind of sucks that, you know, I have to do that from the jump. I can't just put it right in for Bob. I have to take it off, but not a big deal, but still just a little gripe of my own. And then we have the grenades, these like smoke grenades. I want to say that these are the smoke grenades. Nothing too crazy about them, but on some of the older figures, you used to be able to kind of put like the clip on them. There's nowhere really to put this clip onto Bob where you can, you know, have it hanging off. So again, this is something else you're gonna have to put off to the side. And there's two of them. And while I have him, these are the other grenades. And as you can tell, they look really good. So we have one, we got two, and then we have a third one right there. I'm not gonna pull them out because they're kind of a pain to get in there, and I'm not gonna, I don't have to go through that to get them out and potentially rip anything. So I got them in, they're gonna stay in. But yeah, and then I kind of feel like they could have done something here to be able to, and this is how they all come too, that there's like a plate or something that should come here so that I can put some of these other equipment on him. But anyways, so there's that. And then now the best part about this figure, and that is this right here. So the modular rifle. So this is a really cool looking rifle. The magazine does not come out, or maybe it does. I have to run it under hot water, but as of right now, I'm going to leave it the way it is. But the stock comes off. All right, so you can put this gun in hand if you want it stockless, but here's how it comes from the factory. Let me go ahead and put that bad boy in. So this is the way it would look. And then of course you can take off this barrel right here and then make it more of like an SMG style weapon if you wanted to. So if you remove it all, you literally have like a small carbine looking thing. So there's a lot that you can do with this figure. There's a lot that you can do with the guns that he comes with to give him the modular look that you like. And I really do appreciate that. I really do appreciate a lot of the overall, you know, this is a really cool looking kit. Let me go ahead and put that in there. There's a lot for him to do here on some legit John Wick stuff. So really cool. I highly, you know, praise them for doing what they've done here. And my biggest fear, especially about the modular rifle, was that it was going to be ditzy. It was going to come apart really easy. It wasn't going to hold together, you know, very well. Not a problem whatsoever. As you could tell from how hard I was pulling, this stuff holds together really nicely. I just really wish that all of this could be stored on the figure. Maybe not the assault rifle parts, but the other two smoke grenades and the knife really would have been nice to have seen somewhere on the body to put it. So maybe that'll be for another a future, you know, add-on, as I mentioned. All right, Trauma Op, so let's go ahead and break down the next portion of this. So this is going to be the articulation. So how good is your articulation on this figure? There's a few pain points, but let me go ahead and get some of it out of the way. So I'm going to do it basically unmasked. So let's go ahead and start off with the head, so he can look up about that far, which on the side is actually a fair amount. He's definitely looking up at the sky. And then if we want to look straight down, can we look down? Yes, I would say enough to make it look like he is in fact looking straight down. And of course he does go left and right. You can do a full 360, that's not a problem. Let's move into the actual torso before we move anywhere else. So forward and back. Let's see, let me see if I can get this on camera. You get a little bit of forward and back, not enough to matter at all, to be honest. But you do get basically 360 all the way around, which is really nice. You can get into a lot of poses with that. And I don't know if you guys can tell, but this portion right here around the waist is basically a hanging piece. It's a free-falling piece, basically. You see what I mean? It doesn't fully, it stays, you know, right there. So there's that. As you get into the hips, you can go out about that far, so it is a little bit limited. And then forward, you can't get to 90 degrees. So this is one of the drawbacks when you have figures that have all these pouches around the waist and this thick like armor around the thighs. Basically you lose some articulation here. And the problem is, right, while maybe on this side I can move this closer to the knee, this side right here I can't do anything about. So this is going to be, no matter what, fairly limited. But you can get him into most of the poses that you want to, and I'll show you guys that in a sec. Of course, you guys also get the swivel at the top. double jointed at the knee, which allows him to kick his own ass, which is obviously really nice. And then when it comes to the leg at the bottom, you can get the swivel right there, and then the swivel also at the ankle, which goes really far, so that's nice. And then he can kick down, but because of the geometry of the figure itself, he doesn't kick down too much, and he doesn't pull forward all that much either, so there is that. Okay, now moving into the arms, you can basically get him without necessarily messing with the shoulders. You can get him about that far in either direction. You can get him further than that. I'm not gonna do it because I don't wanna stress out the plastic, but at the top of the bicep, you get a twist. At the bottom of the bicep, or should I say the elbow, you get some free range right there, so that's nice. And then of course it bends to, let's see, if this is about 90 degrees, we could say that's 90 degrees. He goes noticeably far past that, which is really nice. And then on the right hand, obviously you do get a full 360 spin. And then this is one of the trigger hands, so he goes downwards really far, like obviously unnaturally far. And then on the other hand, you have more of the push-up style grip. That's the only real difference in terms of articulation. I'm going to show you guys a few poses here in a sec, just so you guys can see, you know, that you can get him into a few poses, even with some of the limitations in articulation. So what kind of poses can you get Bob into? So it's really nice. You can actually get him into a lot of posing. Something that Acid Rain does a great job with is the arms are really, really long. They come basically down halfway down, I would say, the thigh. Usually the arms of a lot of these figures end somewhere around the waist, but you always get a little extra in terms of hand length, or should I say arm length. And I really appreciate it because you can get him into really badass poses like this, right? He's holding the pistol, he's holding it perfectly, the other hand is supporting it. It almost looks like he's looking like right down sight, and really he is. You know, in all honesty, you could get him basically into the perfect look. So if you're trying to get that John Wick going on, you absolutely have it with this figure. And that's something that you usually get along with most of these figures, so that's one thing. As I mentioned before, you can get him basically in a kneeling down position. It's not perfect because you got to get that leg slightly out to the side, but you can get him into a full kneeling position, no problem. And it still looks really nice to me, at least. And you can have him aiming down sight on the weapon, which is nice. As you can tell on this hand right here, I don't actually have it around the barrel. That barrel is really thick and it does stretch out the plastic. I'm probably going to, you know, from time to time put him like that, holding the gun in that fashion, because Acid Rain uses, for what I can tell, really nice plastic. So not a big problem, just not going to do it right now. But yes, you can get him into kneeling position. You can have him aiming down sight. These are some of the things that you want out of your military action figure. Now we're going to try one last pose, and that's in the prone position. So I wouldn't say this is exactly perfect, but I would say that this is really, really good. You can basically get him into a position where it looks like he's aiming down sight. I could probably fix that a little bit more, but just to give you a general idea, you can basically have him looking far enough upwards that even in a prone position, it still looks like he's taking a pop shot on somebody. So really good articulation, really high playability. I love the Acid Rain stuff, and I think this Bob is no exception to the fact that I love this figure. Of course, what would be a review without a nice little size comparison? So let me just line that up. Let's go ahead and see how he looks next to Jack. Here he is side by side with the one-man arsenal himself. As you can tell, they're generally about the same size. I want to say that the body and the underpinnings are all basically exactly the same. The only thing that's going to make this character look a little bit bigger overall is just basically the chest piece, as I feel what would you call these pouches on the front of Bob's chest basically make him look really, really big. But honestly, they're basically the same size. So that's a really cool uniform look, and I do hope to get the rest of the Bucks team. And now here we have him. All right, and now here we have him next to one of the PLA figures from Joy Toy. As you can tell, they are generally pretty close to the same size. I would say that with the helmet piece on top of Bob, they're probably identical in height, but obviously what you can tell is different. It's just the proportions of the body. Joy Toy tends to be pretty realistic. Acid Rain takes a little bit more of a stylistic approach, but I think they look great, and at least in terms of size-wise and photography, you won't notice much of a difference. Now, of course, switching over to the Soil Ghosts, we have, I'm not gonna lie, off top, I don't remember this guy's name. Is it Doeg? Is this Doeg? Commander Doeg? tribal leader Doeg, I forget. But anyways, this is one of the taller figures. The soil ghosts tend to be really damn tall. And yes, the other guys with the like bray herd legs are even taller than this, but even this guy is quite the massive figure. Just comparison to Bob. Bob is probably the same size as most of the other figures. So obviously this character right here on the left is really, really tall. But I do like the aesthetic. I do like the way this looks all together. I do appreciate seeing two very different figures, right? On the left, we have tribal leader, you know, leathers and stuff like that put together, very asymmetrical in a sense. And on the right, we have also some asymmetry, but, you know, more of that, you know, futuristic, you know, figure, military figure, but they're both from the exact same universe at the exact same time. And it would be kind of cool to see some kind of show or something where these figures get to interact. I would really appreciate something like that. Against some of the larger figures, here we have from Star Wars The Black Series, the Phase 2 Purge Trooper. This is basically the same height as all the clone troopers, and even the regular stormtroopers are basically this height. So this would be the difference between basically the Black Series stuff and the Acid Rain stuff. Now, I don't immediately own, or at least I don't know where the hell it's at, but I do have some Star Wars The Vintage Collection, and normally those figures are more or less about this tall. They're basically to, I would say, Bob's chin and average. So just to give you guys an overall look, if you do have this character and you know how tall a vintage collection figure would be, this is basically a good way for you to tell. Let me actually put him behind just so you can get a better look. So he comes up slightly above his belt, basically almost to that chest piece right there. I know that it looks like he's at it due to the angle, but he's right below the chest piece. Next, we have the lightning god Zenitsu himself. I know he's not a lightning god, but basically he is in the show. As you can tell, it's a bit of a smaller figure, smaller than that Phase 2 Purge Trooper. So this looks a little bit, it's still completely out of scale, but just so you, again, get a reference point of what it looks like. And now here I have him next to the G.I. Joe, what is this, Jungle Fury, Jungle Island Outback, and as you can tell, you know, obviously way bigger. I would say, let me just go ahead and put him right next to him. Yeah, he's definitely taller than even the Purge Trooper, even at the top of his helmet. So let me just go ahead and give you guys a little bit of that look. So yeah, pretty tall figure overall. Great looking, by the way. I'll give you guys a review of him soon enough. I just wanted to get some of this Acid Rain stuff out of the way. But yeah, obviously very large character in comparison to Acid Rain. All right, and next up we have Tyrius Flare from the Golden Axe Storm Collectibles line, and as you can tell, she's absolutely massive. She is a fairly tall figure even for the Storm Collectibles scale. I would say that she's about as high as they're supposed to be, or as tall as like a lot of their other figures. Obviously doesn't scale at all. This is basically a small child or a hobbit next to her. So yeah, just so that you can see that reference, she's pretty tall, but so is basically any other Storm Collectibles figure. All right, and now to top it all off, here we have the original Bucks Team King. Now, obviously, we do have a new King, and when I do have him, I'll be able to show you guys a side-to-side. But this is what the original Bucks team used to look like. As you can tell, they've come a long way. This looks super, I'm not going to say low quality. It was quality for what it was back in the day, but look how far Acid Rain has come in just overall, you know, design ethic, like just what they've been able to do with the Bucks team. You know, this is what they used to look like back in the day on the left. Now look how modernized and weaponized and futuristic they look on the right. So there has been a very stark difference. And obviously I have a review on King. You can see a full breakdown of that figure. But, you know, as much as I did like that when I did buy it, I absolutely love what they're doing with the new Bucks team. And I really hope we get a larger team overall. New characters, new figures. You know, there's a few from back in the day that, you know, maybe we'll see again with this new Bucks team motif. Who knows? I hope we don't get just re-releases. I hope we get full on, you know, this brand new look, you know, to the Bucks team. So we'll see what happens. But in the meantime, this is the closest comparison I have. Trial Mob. So obviously, as you can tell, I love this figure. I think they knocked it out of the park. They did a great job of modernizing the Bucks team basically motif, adding these new colors, making them look different, giving them just a new identity, something that pushes the entire brand forward. The Bucks team and Bob himself have always kind of been the center stone for what has been basically Acid Rain from the beginning of it all. So to see them reinvented, to see them moved forward, to not just see just a rehash of the same figures, but to see basically the story move forward, right? These are characters 10, 20 years later. I don't know how much time has passed, but you know, continuously we have seen these figures evolve, and so here we're seeing them at their most advanced, right? Because Bob is still in it, but he's on his way out soon, and we get to see that pivotal change from him being, you know, what we're seeing here, a figure ready to fight, ready to go, and total badass, to soon being more of a senator, more of a leadership role, and what that means for the Bucks team, what other figures we're going to get in the future, what power-ups, what members. So there's a lot that we're going to get from Acid Reign and Toys Alliance in terms of, you know, Bucks team, and as of right now we have 5 total members, and this is only the first review, and I'm going to try to give you all 5 of them. But again, I think that if you were worried that this was going to look too futuristic, I'll admit it does have that futuristic look to it, but thanks to that granulated look, thanks to that Acid Reign look that we all know and love, I still think this fits very well with a lot of the stuff that we've gotten so far. But if you were looking for more of that old school diesel punk look that we used to kind of have, the reality is we moved away from that, especially now that we're seeing all the Omangan stuff that's coming out. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts. Acid Reign is moving forward, and maybe that means that you might want to move on to another line. I totally understand that. But if you are liking what you see here, let me just tell you, I think it's worth it. I think it's very modular. I think it comes with a lot of options now, and the price point hasn't necessarily gone up from some of the other stuff, right? I believe I got this for the same price that I've gotten other figures with static weapons, and this comes with a whole, you know, other loadout if I wanted to, right? Different things add to the pistol. The assault rifle can be changed to an SMG. You know, the stock comes off. Yeah, sure, I don't have some of the things I need to be able to sheath the knife, but again, I have those options that are there. So these guys do come with a lot, and I'm hoping that moving forward, all their figures come with more stuff to make the price point more worth it. That was a nice pull right there. I don't know if you guys heard that, but yes, Trial Mob. If you guys like what you're seeing, please like, comment, subscribe. As I mentioned, I do have Jack, as you saw, and I do have the other 3 coming in soon. So I'll be covering all of Buck's team and other Acid Reign figures, Joy Toy, some of the same figures that you saw here, right? The Outback, Tyrus Flare is still in to get. So eventually I will do them all. But if you want to keep up with this, and if you want to help the channel grow, please like, please comment, please subscribe. You know, watch as much of this as you can. I've already made it to 1,000 subscribers, and once I make it to 4,000 hours of watch time, I'll be in a position where I'll be able to monetize the channel and be able to bring you guys more steady flow of content that right now I just can't afford to do. But again, Trial Mob, I really appreciate you guys tuning in, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Deuces.